I tripped a lot out here in the woods lately. This is a platter.
So why don't you introduce yourself?
Should I say my... Okay.
Yeah, your name.
Is it recording now?
Yeah.
Oh shit, okay. Okay, so my name is Sai.
So you've spoken to me about how you're treated, you've experienced like a lot of racism within like the queer community. Why don't you tell me about that?
It's just like a sense of, like, say if like I explain my experience to like someone who isn't of my skin tone, you know? Like there's someone that's white and like they kind of try to offer like a solution to it without really understanding the problem fully. So it's kind of just like, why don't you put a band-aid over something you need stitches for, you know? And it's like, you tell them and they like make a note of it and like they say, oh yeah, like it's a thing, but they don't do anything to fix it. Like if like they're hanging around someone that's like racist, like they don't think that they should like check that, you know? They don't think they should say anything. And it becomes an issue when like you speak but like they speak over you. You say like, hey, like we're hurting or like we're not treated fairly, and they're just like talking over you. Like they don't care. They want to offer their own solution to it, or their own just like, well, I don't think it is what you're saying it is, and it just becomes a point where you get tired of trying to explain your experience to like people who don't understand, and so you just lash out sometimes because like you're angry. These people aren't listening to you, and I feel like we think queer people who are marginalized, they're supposed to know when like other people are marginalized and kind of like, you know, not...
So people expect like a gay person to understand the same thing a black person would be going through.
Yeah, and it's like they really don't. They don't realize that they can be oppressors just like they're oppressed. And like I say, they were taught the same white supremacy as like their straight counterparts. So it's like there's not going to be a difference in like how we're treated because it's like you guys were brought up in that too.
How about on the other side, where you mentioned so being treated a certain way by other gay black men who like there's that bias of like masculinity within the queer community. Can you talk about that?
It's like, yeah, it's like the black household is always like hyper masculine. It's like the guys have to be straight first of all. They have to be like the dominant figure in the family. They just have to be like really like hyper masculine, and that like translates over into blackness too. It's like we've been taught to like you have to be a man. So it's like any sign of like femininity or like weakness that's like ugly. Everyone really loves like masculinity, and it's like even with that, black people still suffer from like colorism, from like internalized like racism. So it's like you put that into it too, and it's like black people kind of have like the weaker stick. Like you guys, you're already just like discriminated against, and you're taught to like discriminate against each other, so you're just making it worse for each other from the outside and the inside.
So how about I would say that there's definitely like masculinity has a large place in hip hop and hip hop culture. A lot of it is, you know, like bragging and doing just things that are seen as masculine. When I asked you about who you like, is like who are your favorite rappers? Would you say?
I listen to girls more. I think like the females are like the better.
I definitely noticed that.
Of the contenders, like it's like the guys like it's boring. It's like the guys just rap about sex, money, drugs, and nothing else really. And it's like girls can rap about the same stuff, but it's like they can tell a story with it. They can put some kind of shtick to it because they have to sell it harder than the guys do. Like when you're a girl like rapping, like you have to be really, really good. Like if you want to be a guy and be a rapper, you can say some really stupid shit and people will like it because it's on a hot beat. And like rappers can go like platinum like that. Like it's like it's like impossibly harder as like girls.
So like the way that a lot of rappers currently that are popular, their stuff is like more simple and maybe doesn't take as much skill as woman thing. You think that there's no way like a woman or a queer person could get away with that?
Yeah, it's like if your song is good, like it has to be really, really good for them to pay attention.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like there are a bunch of like queer people that make amazing music,
Yeah.
but their work will never be showcased, like in the way that it should be.
Right. Why don't you talk about your fashion design?
So like I pretty much decided, like I think while I was in high school, I started like cutting up my clothes and like sewing stuff back together, and I was just like, okay, like I like this, and I like the feeling that I get when I do this type of thing, and I like the attention that I get when someone asks like, oh, where'd you get that? And I'm like, I made it.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of decided, like, hey, like I really love fashion, and then I never wanted to like work at a job where like, I'm told what to do. So I feel like I want to own my own business. So it's like I got to the point where like I want to own a clothing store. Like I want to be able to do everything. I want to be like my boss, and I want to be responsible how like my paycheck comes in.
So you basically just taught yourself, essentially.
Yeah.
Taught yourself like the basics, and you showed me some of your designs, and most of them are like very gay, like very explicitly gay. Like,
Yeah.
can you describe like your philosophy behind that? You just think it's like fun, or
That came from like when you're straight, you can go to the store and find things that say like I bang chicks, and like things that are like that are obscene, but they're like very like heteronormative.
right?
So it's like, why don't gay people have like that kind of like Forever 21
Yeah.
feel, like something really cheesy on a shirt, but that's like cheesily gay.
Right.
And so that was like my whole concept behind it. I was just like, make really like gay things and put them on t-shirts.
So it's almost like you feel like you have like a responsibility to express yourself because there's
Yeah.
not a lot of it out there.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. It felt like you just have to put something out there for people who like their target market isn't necessarily like handed things that are like nice and for them.
Religious? Would you consider yourself religious?
No.
Do you have a lot of experience with religion? Were you raised religious?
Yeah, like my whole family's Christian. To start off with that, my great uncle's a pastor. My great grandmother was an evangelist. So it's a whole Christian like spread there.
Would you say that that's at all? So you've obviously departed from that. Why would you say that is?
Cause like I don't know, it's just like it's just not my scene really. I don't know, like taking classes and like learning about like religion, like understanding like the history of like religion. It's like, first of all, like you have your opinion that like religion's like man-made. Like these things were something that we created for ourselves to sort of like a coping mechanism and to like basically give us like laws to like abide by. When civilizations where we didn't really have like laws, they put up these like commandments as sort of just like these are like what we do. Like the first laws were religion, and it just became a thing in my life where I'm just like, this is toxic, and I just
like
don't-
in relation to your identity as a queer person, or just more in
Yeah.
general?
Yeah, like a queer person, and like it's like being in the church and like going every Sunday and like seeing the dynamic of people. You realize like everyone that pretends to be like good and Christian isn't really like good and Christian, you know? Like everyone, they're all sinners. Like according to the Bible, if you want to be like correct about it, like they're all sinners, and they're judging each other for other sins. Like the sins are like worse than the other. And I could probably find a better way to say that. But like it just becomes like, it's like very hypocritical. And it's like, why be around people that like they preach one thing but they don't practice it, you know? And it just becomes such a toxic environment where like you're supposed to like preach love, and like every time I go, like basking heterosexuality, which is like a part of like my identity. It's like bashing me being black, or bashing me like having long nails or something. It's like, it is something that like I saw through it. It's like other people can't see through it
Because
but I saw
they don't have that part of their identity that's being attacked, essentially.
Yeah, they don't have a perspective on the world, and like they just cling to this thing that they think is gonna save them.
I think it's definitely religion, especially Christianity, definitely has a strong place in black communities. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I feel like it's because, first of all, when we were brought over here, the black people from Africa and also the Native Americans, they were like forced to convert.
They were forced, yeah.
So it's like, this is all you know now. What you thought you knew was taken away from you. So like a lot of like black Christianity is basically like things that were like traditionally like in Africa, like may it be songs or references were actually put into like Christianity, and the same way the other cultures did that to sort of just like keep who they were, but by practicing this thing so they're not persecuted.
So it's almost like I'm gonna wait for this. So it's almost like a survival tactic.
Yeah, it's like you hide things in, like Negro spirituals are essentially just like something have a deeper meaning than what they're like told to have.
So the word you used with me is you said that religion is tainted for you.
Yeah.
Do you think? I mean, there are religions that are that have different views on like gender issues and like issues of sexuality. But to you, you've just come to the conclusion that they're all man-made, so they're all flawed in some way or the other.
Yeah. I feel like there's an exception to like every rule, so there's gonna be times where like you make a religion that's supposed to be like a good thing, and it's gonna be turned into a bad thing, and it just becomes like it gets to the point where like it's not good anymore, and you know, people can always find some way to change it. People always like interpret things different, so it's not always gonna ever be consistent.
Like it's not gonna be all bad. Like there's people who do good things with religion,
yeah,
and there's people who do bad things.
But it's like giving someone a knife. It's like they can either like open up a coconut or they can go out and kill someone. It's like giving them something that can bring them like power and like a sort of like substance or something that you can actually go out there and hurt people and do bad things with. It's like people like use Christianity to sort of like justify like slavery and use it to justify like the Holocaust. And it's like, it can be like used as like a greatest tool, but there have been so many crusades and genocides based on religion and like everything that's going on now. It's like people ruined it.
Okay, do you want to talk more about that, like the way that like marginalized communities exist within other marginalized communities?
Yeah, because it's like, okay, the LGBTQ is like, it's like a community of sexual minorities along with gender minorities that are outside of the shape of like cisgender, like heterosexualness, which is the dominant culture. And so, and within that, you can have intersections of just like, you can have race, where you have like a black person, and then you can have religion, where there is like a Muslim girl, or you can have gender, which you have gender minorities such as like transgender, like anything that falls under that whole category. So it's like, you can deal with more than one issue. It's just like, okay, if you're white and you're gay, you only deal with like homosexuality. And if like you're black and you're gay, you deal with racism and homosexuality. If you're a girl, you're black and you're gay, you deal with like sexism, racism, homophobia. Did I say homosexuality?
You might have.
I probably did. I meant homophobia. So it's just like the intersections bring more issues to the table, and it's like you have to realize like everyone's not going to be as privileged as you. And this community is supposed to be all inclusive. So if you want people to accept you, you have to kind of accept other people. There are plenty of like queer men, like gay men, who don't understand what being trans is and that are like transphobic. You have plenty of like black gay men. You have plenty of like Muslim gay people. Like people are going to be ignorant in every aspect. But in order to be all inclusive, you have to accept everyone who deserves to be accepted, you know? Now, I'm not saying go and accept some people that, like, oppress you. That's, like, I separate people that are oppressors from people that are oppressed because people from the outside that are like pushing down on you, you don't really have to respect them, in my opinion. You know, if like if I'm gay and my vice president is trying to do something that's going to be an attack on my community, I don't have to respect the person. Because if you're infringing on my rights, like, what reason do I have to really respect you, you know? Moving around like this whole time, I can never stay still when I do interviews.
That's good. That's good. You don't want to be sitting still the whole time. So why don't you tell me how your identity has affected your personal relationships, like your dating and your like sex life?
I feel like, okay, there becomes like a time where just like people can sort of go against like your identity with like their politics, and it's like you can fuck someone that's like racist as hell, and like they can literally like be against like, oh, blacks are lazy, blah blah blah, and feel that way and still like sleep with a black person. And it's like dating, you can get guys that like they hand you out like casual racism, and it's like you shouldn't have to deal with that. It becomes a time where like it's annoying. Like you don't want to have to keep saying like something to like a guy that you're talking to, like, hey, like that's offensive, you're like, you shouldn't say that. And then there's the other side where like I say you're always either like neglected, fetishized, or just like that happy medium of just like both. Like either guys are gonna like not like you because of your skin tone, they're gonna only like you because of your skin tone and what they think you have, or they're gonna be in the middle where like they like you but they're casually against you with like little things here and there. This dating sucks, so don't do it.
Okay. On that note, thank you so much for doing this interview. Do you have any last thoughts for us?
I want to say buy my stuff first of all, because it's hard out here and I'm broke, so no, I'm not gonna say that, but like, yeah, do buy the stuff. Like I'm gonna have like a nice array of things coming out, so it should be interesting to see. And as time goes on, I'm pretty sure things will get better and better and like more extravagant, until the fact that you're gonna see like some really like high fashion runway type stuff.
Okay. And your name is?
My name is Sai.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.